What's your favorite scary movie?
Be like, I'm dying.
If some guy came up to me and said, "Hey, big eyes," I'm like, "It's over and done. We're married now."
Someone in movies where I'm like, kiss. But
Oh God, what a sea of humanity.
God, what a sea of humanity. There we are. Welcome in to
I want a sea of
52.
humanity.
We've got Mr. Sea of Humanity here, Ryan Wiest. Welcome in to 52/1994, the live movie conversation podcast where we discuss movies from the year 1994. I am your host, Cootie Allen. I had to copy of you.
Cootie Allen.
Cootie Allen. It's the best I can
wow.
do. Yours was way better.
Love it.
And I'm joined by my co-host. I already said his name, Ryan Wiest. If this is your first time joining us, welcome in. We are so happy for you to join us today. Just to give you a little bit of a heads up, basically what we do is we watch 52 movies from the year 1994, important movies released this year that I decided were important. We're typically doing those in monthly categories. This month's category is Oscar-ish. And so these are movies that weren't nominated for Best Picture, probably either attempted to do something big that would have been Oscar baity, or something like this that was nominated for a lot of Oscars. But then I have a guest host on to talk about the movie and then talk about what they've seen and if they've seen anything good, because this is the way that I talk to my friends and see what they're watching, which is awesome. So welcome in, everybody. Hopefully you stick around, follow. You can do that in all of the places I have listed on my link tree. So check those out and use the chat, have fun. And I guess we'll talk about this movie, which is called Bullets Over Broadway. Ryan, have you ever seen this movie before?
Yeah, I'd seen it. At some point in my life, I watched every Woody Allen movie in a row, which is like 50, 60 movies. Like
It's that many movies. That's
it
crazy.
was like one a year for like 45 years straight, and it's
Yeah.
been pretty close to that ever since. I think I got up to like the mid-aughts. That's probably when I was doing it, or like 2010. Like I don't think I ever saw Blue Jasmine, which I hear is like the last good one he made. But yeah, I got to like through Match Point and stuff, 2005.
Did you ever see Midnight in Paris?
Yes, I saw that for sure.
Okay.
But that's about when I fell off, and it seems like appropriately so. I mean, I watched a lot of bad ones on that road, but yeah, for an absolute demon of a human being, I did watch like 50 of his films. So I have seen this, but doesn't mean that I actually had a lot of distinct memories about Bullets Over Broadway.
Yeah, I don't think I had ever seen this movie before, and the only I saw this on Broadway. That was the first time I'd ever seen the story. I actually saw the Broadway
Did
show
you see it with our boy, with our scrubby boy?
with our scrubby bubby, scrubby bubby, Zach
America's own
Braff.
Zach Braff
I'm tr-
on stage.
I said that almost like I have a little bit of scratchy throat. I'm saying that like Donald Trump, our scrubby bubby. I'll work on it.
Oh man.
Yeah, I did. I saw it with Zach Braff. This is one of my like celebrity encounters, is that and wasn't even an encounter. I stayed after the show and he came out and I took a picture with him,
Oh,
and
cool.
he kind of got annoyed with me because I couldn't take the picture with my phone because I'm not good at selfies. And I was like, say eagle, because I thought that was funny and it's not. And he didn't think it was
Okay.
funny.
When I took a picture of Bill Murray, I said, "Say meatballs," and he was like, "Haha, cool, man."
Similar reaction from he was like, "Can you take the picture, please?" And I was like, "Yeah, I got it." And I got his autograph and everything. So
Nice.
it was cool. But yeah, that was my experience with it. And I've seen Woody Allen movies. I've seen probably I don't know, like 10 maybe. Once you said 50, I was like, wow, that's a lot. And then I remember I was like, no, I've probably seen, a fifth of those. So
A lot of
um,
them.
yeah, a lot of the early ones I had seen, and then I've seen Blue Jasmine. I've seen whatever, Midnight in Paris. I've seen a few of the ones in there. The 90s is kind of where I lose him.
Yeah, I was looking up earlier, like when this, especially after I saw the reviews being as positive as they were, I was like, where was he just on a roll? But he was actually in like a rut. I think his last huge hit was Crimes and Misdemeanors in '89. I think Mighty Aphrodite comes in '95, and that was a decent hit.
Yeah, I think
Before
that was
that, in between those two, like Shadows and Fog, I remember, but I think that's him like jerking off Ingmar Bergman for the 10th time. So I don't know that that's like a hit. It's just him doing like, copying Bergman, which he does a lot in his career.
is Purple Rose of Cairo in the 80s. That's before. That's
Yeah, Purple Rose of Cairo and Broadway Danny Rose and Radio Days. Those are all mid 80s, and that was a pretty good era
Radio
for him.
Days. Yeah.
Um,
Ants.
Ants, yeah. One of the few Woody Allen movies I've never seen.
It's good. I'd say it's better than B Movie.
Okay, but worse than a
Not
Bug's
as, but worse than A Bug's Life.
that tracks.
Can we just talk? Let's just switch to talk about Ants. Even though you've never seen it, I think we could get somewhere.
It feels like I've seen it.
Okay, I'm looking at Manhattan Murder Mystery is another one that I had.
I know that one was famously bad. There was another one in there. There was a few in there that I was like, I remember that one being okay, but none of them I think are like his big hits.
Yeah. So I don't know. You've seen more. You've seen them all pretty much, except for the more recent ones. But like you said, he starts to fall off, and then so do his movies. Although there are a couple in there from his newer ones that I'm like, I kind of want to go see that.
Christina Barcelona was a pretty big hit, and it was a good movie. Mm-hmm. And then Midnight in Paris was a couple. Yeah, then there was like the that's right.
His Europe phase.
But also Larry David and Evan Rachel Wood and Whatever Works was not a big hit, but I kind of liked it.
Yeah, it was. He did his Paris, Rome. I think he did. Oh, he did another one in there.
The last few he's done have not even gotten theatrical releases in America, but the last one that came out this year was the first one he had in a while, because I read that it had a pretty big, I had a lot of love at the Venice Film Festival, whatever it's called.
Mm-hmm. And nobody wants to be in the movies anymore.
Yeah, nobody wants to be. And I looked, I was like, who's playing him? And it was all European actors.
Yeah,
they're all Europeans are pedophiles, so they don't care as much. Is my take.
I'll take it.
I mean, I guess we should talk briefly. Woody Allen's been accused of some pretty horrendous things, and those things are often he kind of tells on himself a lot in his movies. Specifically, that he writes a lot of plots about where he puts himself into a role as a well-intentioned, neurotic, hyper intellectual guy who finds a gorgeous model who's barely of age, if that, of a woman, and cheats on whoever he's with her, and that's all okay. I mean, most famously done in Manhattan, which is,
I was about to say, Manhattan,
one of his best movies, and honestly, like one of the better movies in the American canon. Like, it's a really gorgeous film, but it does revolve around a plot where he's like can't help but be in love with somebody who I think is under 18 in the movie. But even if she's 18, she's clearly age inappropriate and is a bit naive and wide-eyed.
And
but yeah, he's accused of some pretty horrible things, and it seems like I haven't looked into all of the data in a long time. That family's really messy. There's a lot of accusations back and forth, but it seems that popular culture as a whole has come down on the side of having weighed all the evidence of, he's a big old creep who was weird with his own children and other young people. His
ex-wife's adopted daughter.
Yes.
Yeah. Who he married.
Who has been married to, right? You're talking about Sun Yi?
Sun Yi, yeah.
His ex-wife's adopted daughter, he had a weird relationship with when she was underage, and then he left his wife for her adopted daughter, and they've been together ever since. Which is pretty fucked up. Though if you ask Sun Yi Previn, she's like, "Leave me alone. I'm really happy." That's been her like steady like thing for many years. But accusations about his other daughter, Dylan Farrow, are even more damning.
Yeah. And if you want to learn more about that, feel free to look it up on your own time. We're not going to do that. I didn't want to not discuss it on here.
You got to say it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because
I read a pretty good book recently for a book club by I want to say it's Jennifer Egan, but that's not who that's by. It's called Monsters. And it is a it wasn't as good as I expected to be, but it was a exploration into like when artists you love do horrible things. And I think the first 20% of it is the woman discussing how she feels about Woody Allen and culture. And it was a pretty good talk about it. I also remember her saying like, it really helps that ever since I learned to hate him, he hasn't made a good movie. So I can just like I can compartmentalize and watch like the shit he made a long time ago and enjoy it, but I don't have to like have the moral dilemma of whether or not I check out the new Woody Allen movie.
Yeah,
because
it
it
is
has been an
nice.
issue for a while. He's made shit movies for ever since culture's known about this since the 90s, but they decided to give a fuck in the past 15 years.
Yeah, it's like Cosby. Like he didn't do anything amazing after like 95 or whatever. So
Right.
I'm like, I can watch the Cosby Show, right?
I mean, that's a decision you get to make.
That's
And we will get back to that shortly because there is a important quote that's thematic in this movie that really hits like Woody Allen's whole vibe. I think we'll get to that eventually.
Man, I think it gets said like three or four
Yeah.
times in the movie, and I was like, man, you really knew what was coming up for you, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, let's talk about this movie. I'll introduce it. It is called Bullets Over Broadway. It was released October 14th, 1994. It is directed and written by Woody Allen. The cast, there's a lot of good people in this cast. John Cusack as David Shane, Jack Warden as Julian Marks, Chaz Palminteri as Cheech, Joe Vitarelli as Nick Valenti, Jennifer Tilly as Olive Neal, Rob Reiner's in here as Sheldon Flender, Mary Louise Parker, who I did not recognize until I read the name that it was Mary Louise Parker, plays Ellen. Diane Wiest as Helen Sinclair. Harvey Firestein's in here as Sid Loomis. Edie Falco's in the background somewhere.
Yeah, I saw that. That's cool.
Jim Broadbent is in this as Warner Purcell. Tracy Ullman of famously the Tracy Ullman Show is in here as Eden Brent. I might have missed somebody. Debbie Mazar's in here. Love a Debbie Mazar appearance. The synopsis that I pulled from Google says, struggling 1920s playwright David Shane, having failed to secure financing for his latest work, reluctantly makes a deal with mob boss Nick Valenti, a Broadway debut with the chance to direct as long as Nick's girlfriend Olive plays one of the lead roles. As Olive and star Helen Sinclair attempt to upstage each other, doesn't happen. Olive's gangland bodyguard Cheech starts suggesting changes to David's script. This movie has a box office return had a budget of $20 million with a box office return of $37.5 million. This movie is well loved. Like Ryan said earlier, Woody Allen kind of had a row of stinkers there for a little bit, but this one came in very high. Rotten Tomatoes has it at a 95%. IMDb has it at 7.4 out of 10 and Letterboxd at a 3.7 out of 5. Roger Ebert liked this movie. He said this movie is very funny and in the way it follows its logic wherever it leads, surprisingly tough. I did struggle to find some of the like more important critics giving this a bad review. Mal Vincent of the Virginia Pilot said, this at best is second-rate, unimportant Woody Allen. It tries much too hard and delivers only the obvious. A little bit of go ahead.
Yeah, I like it. I like what he said.
Oh, yeah. A little bit of the legacy of this. I had mentioned that this was turned into a musical. I don't know I think it was a pretty mildly successful musical. It ran for some time, didn't, win any Tonys or anything like that, but it was good. I liked it. It was fun. I think it was like a jukebox musical, though.
Right.
I think that, they used a lot of the old-timey songs, a lot of Cole Porter, stuff like that. This movie was nominated for a lot of Academy Awards. It was nominated for Best Director, Best Supporting Actor for Chaz Palminteri, Best Supporting Actress for Diane Wiest and Jennifer Tilly, Best Script, and Best Art Direction and Best Costume Design. I believe the only win that they got was for Wiest. Diane Wiest picking up that
really?
supporting
She won
actress.
an Oscar for this.
Yeah.
That feels like an apology for probably not winning for earlier Woody Allen movies. Diane Wiest, her best acting work is like 70s Woody Allen and like Hannah and Her Sisters.
I was going to say Hannah and Her Sisters, definitely.
Hannah and Her Sisters and Interiors is Woody Allen ripping off Ingmar Bergman at its best, and they're really beautiful like looks into they're very dramatic, arty looks into like family problems and stuff like that. And Diane Wiest is just killer in that. For her to win an Oscar off of this is fine by me, but it's kind of strange knowing what she can do.
I feel like after this, she doesn't really get a lot of like roles like this. I mean, she ends up doing a lot of like.
I remember the two things after this. I kind of looked at it really quick. I remember her in Guide to Recognizing Your Saints. And she's
just read that. Like,
she's a smaller role. It's mostly about those kids. And then Synecdoche, New York, she has a pretty big role. She's working with what's his face.
She ends up playing like a lot of mother aunts after this, like Horse Whisperer, Practical Magic, Birdcage. These are, bigger movies and stuff, but I don't know. She doesn't quite stick out as much, I think. And
she's been a supporting actor her whole life, and she's an amazing one. I think she never had bigger roles than what Woody Allen gave her as far as like screen time, but it's always she's always welcome on screen. I love her.
I'll always remember, I think Parenthood, I believe she's pretty good. Edward Scissorhands is the one that sticks out to me as the mother in that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely the 80s. Footloose. Oh, I forgot. She's the mom in Footloose.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. Not a very important role, but she's married to a preacher that is like, let the kids dance.
It's a good impression.
That I can do a better Donald Trump than Diane Wiest. Who knew? Okay. After that, we talk about the movie. I guess that's what goes on here. Some scenes that really stick out to you. We don't have to go in any kind of order, but whenever I was kind of going back, I was like, man, that scene really worked for me. And most of them involve Cheech. And so I'll start with you.
Steals the show for sure. It's the movie's edited at a pretty big clip, so you get introduced a lot and you get like character development really fast. So it's hard to pick out one scene, especially in the first half of the movie. And then even in the second half of the movie, there's more just like in the second half, there's at least big scenes. You're like, well, this is important to plot and character. The rest is all kind of setting up and following like comedic ideas to their inevitable end. I think the first one I like. I guess the first one I like starred was honestly like halfway through the film. It's when he gets undermined at the rehearsal.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so is that when like Olive starts changing things or?
When that happens a little earlier. There's a rehearsal fight, like a couple scenes before that, where the actresses stop getting along. And then a couple scenes later is when Cheech makes his first changes, and then everybody's making changes and arguing, but everybody's against David. And he starts to give into that or be frustrated by that.
And I think that's the first rehearsal where Ellen is present, right?
Maybe. I honestly don't remember Ellen being in the movie much at the rehearsal space. I don't remember that, but I mean, I didn't pay full attention. Yeah. Might have been taking notes.
Because I believe in that part, John Cusack's character's like, oh, you're against me now too? Like, because everybody had been suggesting, oh, well, maybe you should change it kind of thing.
And she is like shown to be part of his process too when they have that conversation a little bit earlier about him not being able to write women very well. So she's clearly that person he does listen to in those ways.
Do you think somebody said that to Woody Allen, that he doesn't write women well? Because I mean, if you note it, like anybody that wins awards for his for his films are always the female characters. They're always the women.
I think, somebody I'm sure said that. I mean, I think I think Woody Allen has always sought to write complex characters in his serious films. So I think anytime like a male or vice versa, even is going to write like complex female characters, it's going to be open for criticism. So I'm sure he's heard that before. This is a comedy, so like a lot of the stuff is clearly pulled from his own experience as a writer and producer in show business. But it's not always easy to nail down what is tongue in cheek and what is like a legitimate experience. Because also at that same thing, Ellen says, well, your friends have always been men. And I don't know much about Woody Allen's, life, but I doubt that his friends have always been men. He seems like he kind of is like buddy with like he writes his male characters as being buddy with their girlfriends and partners and stuff. and very
Mhm.
intimate. He seems to be like a girl's guy in a lot of ways,
I
which doesn't
do
mean he
think
likes women well, but that one line about like, yeah, you don't really hang out with a lot of women doesn't seem right.
yeah, I feel like I watched a documentary about Woody Allen one time, and, it was like, he got his start on, television, with, like, Elaine May and those type of shows, and working with like Carl Reiner and writing for them, and so that kind of like,
Leisure
I
show,
mean,
yeah,
outside of like Elaine May, they might have all been those old comedians working
yeah,
with
like
like
who
Mel
Rob
Brooks
Reiner is in
and
this, or artists, or like intellectuals too. Yeah, I could totally see that. Um, yeah, yeah, maybe. He was definitely. He was also kind of instrumental in early stand-up. I mean, he only had like one or two albums, but it was when
hmm
stand-up comedy was becoming a genre.
hmm
And so he got like I think he got a Grammy early on for in like 1964 for a stand-up album.
wow, yeah, I know he did a lot of skits, and that's a lot of like skits and stuff too,
That's what
and
comedy
that's
was back then. So stand-up
yeah.
wasn't as big a deal unless you're doing like vaudevillian kind of like
hmm
introducing shows, emceeing kind of stuff.
And that's kind of where his movies went for a little, like, especially like, is it Sleeper
Sleeper and Bananas and Take the Money and Run. Yeah, those
what?
are all very very sketchy. Like they have a
Yes.
lot of sketches as films.
Yep.
Midnight Summer Sex Comedy was another one that's like kind of a period Renaissance
Mhm.
piece, but it's mostly sketches.
What you wanted to know about sex, but we're too afraid to
Yeah.
ask. Yeah, yeah, very sketch heavy movies there.
Oh, but
Um,
anyway, yeah, yeah. So Ellen's in that scene, and she's also kind of giving him that creative betrayal a little bit in that moment.
I one thing I want to know, and I don't feel like he stands out. I think he stands out a little bit in the scene that you're talking about. But Jack Warden, kind of his agent or whatever, he was a part of my first scene that I had highlighted. He shows up in that scene that you're talking about, but I really like him, and I feel
Mhm.
like he usually has like some kind of facial hair going on, and he didn't have it in this film, and it kind of freaked me
You know
out.
who he reminded me of constantly throughout the movie was Rip Torn. Um,
Yeah.
Imagine Rip Torn and like the Larry Sanders Show, being both kind of like a big producer, but he's never like that stressed out. And he both challenges and like encourages it. He's kind of like all things to all people, and but he's very jovial throughout the whole thing too. He's never as stressed.
Now I know what I remember Jack Warden from, which is I believe he's Pops in Dirty Work.
Oh, Pops! Oh yeah, you gotta say Pops.
Gotta love a Artie Lang, Norm Macdonald
Oh my
movie
god,
reference here.
all those people are dead.
Oh my gosh, yeah, they wow. Well, Artie Lang should be.
Oh, he's not dead. I just assumed.
No, his nose is.
Yeah,
His
brainwave.
nose is deceased. The rest of his body is coming soon.
Yeah,
So,
that's totally true.
um, anything? What else about that scene? We still have. I
It,
think.
it starts to get to the theme of the movie. I think.
Yeah.
I guess is if there is a theme, and there is one. There's a lot more theme in the second act than there is in the first one. The first one is setting
Yes.
up the comic premises and saying, "Look, you remember the '20s, and you remember Cole Porter, and you remember like gangsters are hot right now, and look at these like a lot of cinema archetypes that they're throwing up there, and this watching them interact into their inevitable situations." And I think that's kind of when it turns into around there is when it turns into who David is as a character, who the other characters start to become. And it has more to say in the second half of the movie than it does in the first.
Yes, and definitely more movement too in the second half. In the first half, I was watching with Alyssa, and Alyssa's like, "This sounds like everything just sounds like a Who's on First sketch. Like
Yes.
that is just how like they're just bouncing from scene to scene to scene to scene, and it is just dialogue, and it's very quick, and it's not always good, but
Yeah, I did not dislike this movie, but as far as the comedy goes, especially, but pretty much the whole movie, I was like, I feel like I've seen everything in this movie in 20 other films and done at least better a few times, right?
yeah,
Whether it's Woody Allen's comedy or those kinds of jokes in general, or the character archetypes, the Diane Wiest character, the aging actress diva, the young gangster mall who wants to be a star, the nebbish playwright. Like I feel like I've seen all of these things, the big producers done before. So I don't know. I think especially watching it back in from 2024, Bullets Over Broadway suffers from the fact that like, haven't I seen this 30 times? Didn't I see it better the last time? That kind of thing.
And I'm trying, like, it's funny that you mentioned that. I had such trouble trying to, and I swear I'd seen this plot before. The aging actress who gets the young, like that whole, what you just said, that young playwright to cheat on his wife, and usually has some other consequence than what we see in the movie. But like, I could not come up with anything. I could always come up with like part of it, but I couldn't
Yeah.
come up with like that full thing. And I know it exists, and I'm hoping that
If I had a little more, it was a thing in the back of my head, and I was taking notes and kind of right up against deadline to like watch it and finish it. And I was like, if I had a little more time, I was going to look up, because I know if I spent just a little few minutes on the internet, I'd be like, oh yeah, this movie. It's just like writing movies that are about plays in the background. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
first of all, MGM musicals did that a ton. I just watched a Ken Russell movie that's about that. I mean, there's a million things that touch on it. All About Eve, one of my favorite movies, or even like Showgirls and stuff like that, has a lot of.
To Be or Not to Be. Have you ever seen To Be or Not to Be?
Well, yeah. What is? Oh, that's Ernst Lubitsch, right?
It is, yeah. And then Mel Brooks Mel Brooks ended up remaking it, or somebody remade it
Yeah,
with
that's
Mel
right.
Brooks in it. But I think that one's got the wife cheating on her husband with some young military dude, which
And
is
then
one
some
of
of it's in the film industry too. It's in my pair with list, but it's not my best one. But like Barton Fink is kind of like has some of these vibes too.
Mhm. I've never actually seen Barton Fink.
No, you should. It's very good.
Thank you. I will. I had mentioned that I had a scene earlier with Jack, or with whatever Warner, and I was talking about the scene where they first meet Olive, and like they're getting set up with the, okay, this guy's going to produce your play, you're going to meet the actress that he's going to put in the play, which I think is like the first like truly good, like decent comedy scene in it. It plays off very play like to me, like
Yes.
we are watching a play and this is, a scene from it. But the way that John Cusack acts in it is very much not movie acting, and it is play acting. But I think it serves its purpose in that. And he's just like
Yeah.
having, like, I don't know, like having an ulcer or whatever it is whenever he
Yeah. Yeah. He's constantly
meets her for the
stressed
first
out.
time.
So, I mean, all right. That goes to a question about this movie too that we could talk about. Like, is he a good Woody Allen? Like Woody Allen he cast himself in most of his movies, and then in the 80s and 90s he starts casting other people as the Woody Allen character.
Mhm.
So it's clearly Woody Allen's jokes, it's his perspective. He gets the actors to act like him and to do his like mannerisms. And so you get to see through time, like whether it's Larry David or Leonardo DiCaprio, you get to see other people like do Woody Allen, and this is John Cusack's turn to do him. And I don't think he does a great job. I don't think the movie gives him a lot of screen time compared to other main character roles in his movies, especially in the first half. He doesn't seem important in the first half.
Mm-hmm. I actually agree with you. It is usually whenever we go through the 94 or 2024 recast, I never have one for 1994, but like I feel like I can think of like 3 or 4 actors that could have done this way better than John Cusack. I don't know. John Cusack just doesn't scream the Woody Allen nebbish role like to me at all.
I kind of want to disagree, only because if you had given him more of the Woody Allen role, if you think about like, if you take John Cusack from High Fidelity, he is being Woody Allen. He's just being like a grunge music guy. He's like, I mean, I gotta do this and that, and da, 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 da. And I was like, and my whole thing is this, and what people don't understand is this. Like, he's constantly like anxious and like talking fast, but he doesn't get a chance to do much of that in this. I don't think he'd be the best cast ever, but I think he could have done better. I think if given more work, he could have done better than he did.
I think John Cusack, she would do better. Now that's a
I would
plus.
love to see that movie. Yeah.
No, I think John Cusack is more suited for and it's so weird that we talk about like these Woody Allen characters, but I do feel like they are some that are a little bit different. Like even him and Annie Hall, I think, is Rob from High Fidelity. Like I think those
Yeah.
guys are the same person. One is gatekeeping movies and the other one's gatekeeping music.
Totally, that makes sense.
And they're not good guys at all. And in this one, before we even know that David Shane is a good character, I feel like this one is the just completely neurotic, non-confident version of himself, that I don't think like that one in Annie Hall feels more cocky than this one.
Yeah.
And maybe that's because Woody's not playing himself in this one.
Oh, that's true. He is more confrontational in Annie Hall. And I guess if like they would Woody Allen always do the stuff where they'd be like asides, right? Like to the audience. like two people have a conversation and he'd be like, well, I guess if you think that, blah, 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 blah. Like, but it's like nobody heard him be an asshole, but he'd still be part of the conversation. Like nobody would acknowledge that he said something snarky. And
Yeah.
John Cusack didn't get much of those. He's always actually talking to somebody. So his little barbs aren't as Barbie because they're acknowledged. I wonder if a lot of that got cut out or something too. But
Yeah.
anyway.
And the only person that I like when I was thinking of recasting this, I have been watching over the last like several months the show Northern Exposure. Did you ever remember the show Northern Exposure?
No, it's on me and my partner's watch list because neither of us had ever seen it, and I think
but I mean, it's about a doctor from New York, a Jewish doctor from New York named Joel Fleischman gets put in the middle of nowhere, Alaska, and it is. I think that character or that actor who we did see earlier this year in Quiz Show, he was the FBI or the lawyer or whoever it was character in that. And he was acting a little too suave in that movie when he's playing this like neurotic, this neurotic part. I think he would be perfect in this role as David Chane. And kind of wish I would have seen him in this instead of Quiz Show. He wasn't bad in Quiz Show, but
actually I see that now. That's good. But I mean, we'll get to like recasting too.
Yeah. So, okay. What's another scene that you have?
I mean, there's the best scene in the whole movie, right? Is the two of them in the bar.
Yeah, I was hoping you would say that. That's the highlight of the entire movie. That was the part where I was just sitting there. I felt good watching something. Like
I didn't have any love for the movie. I could appreciate things or like certain things. I could analyze them and enjoy it a little bit. I had no love for the movie until that scene. And there's a few scenes after that carry on that love, but that's pretty much the core of what gets accomplished here.
No, and it was the first time that I really liked David too.
Yeah.
Like I didn't hate him, and I knew that he was going to cheat on his wife or girlfriend. I knew that was going to happen, but yeah, I really liked him. And if I had a David Cheech movie, which it essentially becomes, for the back half of the movie, I enjoyed that more. And I definitely, like we had talked about earlier, enjoyed the second half of this movie more than the first half of this movie.
I mean, the biggest David moment we get in the first half is him like jumping out of bed screaming, I'm a whore, I'm a whore. Like, all right.
We get it. No, but we get to learn a little bit more about Cheech. We get some really funny lines in here about him burning down his school and because it was Lincoln's birthday. Nobody was there. It's fine.
Yeah, so it was Lincoln's birthday.
As you enter, oh man. But yeah, we get a little bit more of David being vulnerable too and being like, you're better at this than I am.
Yeah.
You're an artist. I'm a hack.
And then Cheech throws it back too. And he's like, yeah, you know what? You wrote some good stuff, bro. Like, don't sell yourself short. Like you really you're a great writer too. And they're able to become friends, and they kind of act like friends, even when they challenge each other later on about what the actions each one is taking. Like they're doing it as friends all of a sudden.
And I actually had a scene too that it comes before David and Cheech at the bar. It's when he's initially yelling. Like I think they're walking on the street together, and David is just yelling at Cheech about all the changes that he's making to his play, and kind of opens him up. And Cheech is just, I don't know, gives it back to him a little bit, and but it does bring David out of his shell a little bit too, and I think opens us up for this David and Cheech at the bar scene.
Yeah,
which I really like. So,
yeah, it too.
What else you got, scene wise?
Pretty much just the ending sequence. I mean, I think there are important scenes, and there are scenes where comedy gets better than worse. But I think the only important scenes are the ending sequence and the conversation with Rob Reiner that becomes the theme of the movie.
Does it seem like, does the Rob Reiner stuff? I like the Rob Reiner stuff. I like the whole that. I don't know. I felt like we didn't get enough of him in the beginning of the movie for the.
And he's always so great on screen. I love him.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah, Rob Reiner's
this
great.
guy's coming hot off of North, right? Like, he's on top of the
guys,
world.
I directed the worst movie of all time. Put me in this.
Yeah, I love every time he's on screen. He's funny. He's good. He definitely plays like Ernest Hemingway, kind of like Midnight in Paris type role of a coffee shop intellectual. Is just like blathering and blustering all the time.
It's
But yeah, I mean, in that scene, I mean, the line he's talking, that's David saying, "Hey, I'm cheating on my girlfriend with Diane Wiest. I feel so bad." And he goes, "Yeah, you're racked with guilt. You're racked with guilt." And he says, "Look, man, guilt is a petty bourgeois bullshit. An artist creates his own moral universe." Which, coming out of Woody Allen's pen, is a little interesting, right? So the idea that he is like played fast and loose with moral conventions in his personal life, but has never shown any remorse for anything or admitted to anything or apologized for anything. And the fact, okay, so this is interesting thematically. I was thinking about Woody Allen. It had been a long time since I watched his movies. I feel like the theme of all of his films is experiencing nihilism and despair and absurdism, and then finding that the only solution to that, I'm not a philosophy expert or whatever, is like Albert Camus' absurdism. Like the only solution to dealing with the meaninglessness of existence is art, laughter, love, and sex. That's all there is. Like that's the only, and I think his movies are constantly about different people, mostly himself, but also other people in other movies that are like just staring down like the fucking bleakness of existence. And they're either giving up or they're discovering art or love and sex or natural beauty, and they're coming back from it. So but as an artist, I think he's saying like he's giving a story in this movie that's both making fun of artists, but also he has it both ways a lot. He's like making fun of intellectualism. He's making fun of Diane Wiest as a great artist, but he's also showing that Cheech ends up being the real artist.
Mm-hmm.
That John Cusack starts the movie. A movie comes in hot with him yelling like, a real artist does this, and the playwright's job is to do this, and the theater's job is to do this, and I won't compromise. He immediately compromises. Cheech comes around and makes his work that he's compromised better and better and better, never wants recognition, doesn't care about recognition, and then becomes obsessed with the concept of creating art to the point that he creates his own moral universe and says, a woman can die to make the play good, right? And that
he doesn't compromise.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it all leads up to Cusack at the end. First of all, getting cucked by Rob Reiner's advice because he feels better about like cheating, right? Because Rob Reiner says, "Hey, if you're a true intellect makes his own moral universe, a true artist does that." Then later on, Rob Reiner doesn't have to feel bad that he stole his girl because he's a true artist creating his own moral universe. He hears that from Ellen's mouth, like that she heard that from him. And then at the end, what we get in the last scene is that John Cusack says, "I'm not an artist. I'm not an artist. An artist kills somebody for their art. I want to be a lame normie. I want to be an ignorant person who goes to Pittsburgh and has kids. Yeah, I want to go to Pittsburgh."
Yeah,
and so what Woody Allen is saying about the intellectualism that's been his whole career and his whole life, like with all the references in here about theater and stuff, it's kind of interesting what he's saying. He never really comes down fully on whether art is a beautiful thing or a horrific thing that turns full people into little monsters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it is unique. The first line of the film is "I'm an artist," and the last line of the film is "I'm not an artist."
Yeah.
So, is there any weight to Rob Reiner's character being the Woody Allen's id, and David being his ego, and Cheech being his super ego? Any weight to that?
Wait, who's the id?
Rob Reiner.
Oh, yeah.
Or should I switch them? I mean, I'm trying to force something here.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. He's his ego. And I guess Rob Reiner would be his id. Yeah. And then Cheech is his super ego. Yeah, I mean, that kind of makes sense.
I like it. I just thought, I was like, well, yeah, because he's the rash, he's impulsive version of him. And they say even in the beginning of the movie, like I think I wrote this down here. And the proof, let's see. The proof, Rob Reiner's character never gets anything produced. And he says the proof is that both common people and intellectuals find your work completely incoherent, meaning you're a genius, kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's Woody Allen riffing on himself.
Yes.
Yeah. That he's never like true smarmy people, that the average person thinks a Woody Allen film is for high-level intellectuals. High-level intellectuals think Woody Allen's a hack. And so he is like stuck in the middle. So he's making a joke at himself there.
Yeah. I like it. I don't know. I'll take it.
Yeah. And so honestly, the first half of this movie doesn't promise anything that deep, and it's not perfect the way the movie does it, but then it becomes a lot more fun to watch when you see Cheech grow as a character, and then you have feelings about David finally, mixed feelings. And it's got a pretty cool, like, there's a name for it, the chiasma in writing, rising action versus falling action. Like it's
Oh,
it's
okay, yeah.
inverting two things. The chiasma coming from chi and X or whatever. So as you see the artist become a common person, you see the common person matched by becoming an artist, and you see a shitty sniveling person become a decent guy at the end when he chooses love and not needing success. But you see like that he was never a real artist, and that Cheech has learned to become a real artist and will just fucking murder and die for his art. And yeah, in the face of that, John Cusack's like, I'm not an artist. If that's really what it is, if that's what it takes, like I've just been pretending. I've been cosplaying being a jerk off this whole time. I'm not really willing to die for it. I don't want to create my moral universe. I want to go with you, Ellen, and live in the decided upon normie moral universe. You know?
And speaking of dying for your art, when Cheech does get, in that very high school, it felt like when this happened, like them chasing him behind this stage and everything, it felt very high school play. Like that was something that I had set up in some Laurel and Hardy kind of like
I don't know that
who's
Woody
behind
Allen
this.
can film action sequences very well.
No, not at all. But I love that one again, the callback to Helen saying "Don't speak" with Cheech there at the end. That's not. But I love that the last thing that Cheech says is he's like, "I got a new ending. Put it in there. Don't say anything about it." He's like, "She was pregnant the whole time," which I think is a callback to his own stuff. Again, Woody Allen just self-doing that. But I think that's the end of Hannah and his Sisters.
Oh, maybe it's been a long time.
Yeah, I think that the studio was like, "Hey, you need to put a happy ending on this movie because
really?
it's too depressing." And so I think at the end they said it either happens in the movie. It's been a long, long time since I've seen Hannah and the Sisters.
Vaguely familiar, yeah.
But yeah, they are like end it with her being pregnant, and so that's a callback to them being like, to that. So I don't know. I like that. I didn't love the wrap up of the Cheech storyline, but I was genuinely sad whenever I was like, no, Cheech, don't die. You're the best part of this whole thing.
Yeah, it really was. And I did see it coming to begin with.
Yeah. And I love Chaz Palminteri. We didn't do it last year, but I really fell in love with The Bronx Tale.
I've never seen it.
Oh, incredible. He tours it still to this day.
Oh, really?
It's a one-man play, and then they turned
Okay.
it into a movie with Robert De Niro and Chaz Palminteri, and very good. Definitely recommend it. But
Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know that it was a one-man show. I kind of love that stuff, so I might check that out.
Yeah, he wrote and acts in it and tours it all across the country. I know he was in here around here last year, and I really was sad that I didn't get to see it, but that's okay. Any other scenes that we're missing? I read some in the chat. Some people were talking about, especially that ending scene with them screaming from the windows and him choosing love.
Yes.
I believe somebody in chat
It's
said
so funny
that
window scene feels like a different Woody Allen movie. It feels very Woody Allen, but it doesn't feel like Bullets Over Broadway. It feels like something out of Annie Hall or something earlier.
And we get Rita, whoever plays Rita. I don't even remember who plays Rita.
Is she the woman across the street?
Yeah, she's the woman across the street. Loved her.
Yeah, she's awesome.
She's got one of my lines too. So.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I know the line.
It's a great line.
Pretty great.
All right. Anybody else in chat? Anything else that we might have missed? Please feel free to put it down there. We'll talk about it some more as I'm trying to remember this movie. I do remember this movie. That's okay. So, who was your favorite character, or do you feel like there was a scene stealer that really took things over?
I'm gonna have to say Cheech. I added that later. Early on, I wrote Olive because I thought Olive would be and kind of was the most obvious and annoying character, and yet I think Jennifer Tilly did such a good job. I didn't care, and I really liked her a lot.
I think I have I put Cheech as my favorite character. Again, I was genuinely sad when he died, but I love Jennifer Tilly, and I thought she was the funniest character.
Yeah, totally. If that performance wasn't there, she wouldn't be. She'd be annoying and screechy. It's hard to do that character that's been done so many times and not be annoyed. And she's got a lot of screen time too, so it can be annoying. If Jennifer Tilly didn't just kind of like really own it, it wouldn't have worked. So I ended up being pleasantly surprised by how much I liked her.
Yeah, and she in that role which we've seen time and time again. That is a class. I feel like that is a classic role in like really classic old movies, 40s, 50s, 60s movies.
Mhm.
I think of the actress in Singing in the Rain. I can never think of that person's name. The one that is getting Debbie Allen is dubbing over her
Yeah,
voice
it's
because
not
she's got such
Claudette
a
Colbert. It's yeah, it's not
um,
Debbie Reynolds, is it?
no, Debbie Reynolds is the one that's getting dubbed over, or
Yeah,
is the one
she's it.
dubbing over her and doing the singing voice. But
I
I
watched that. I
can't help.
watched Singing in the Rain in the bar a few weeks ago, and I figured out who she was, but I don't remember now.
But I think of her and I'm like that woman didn't Jean Hagen is who played her. I just looked it up,
Okay.
playing Lena Lamont. But she rocks in that role in
Yeah.
the same way that Jennifer Tilly does in this, where it's you're meant to be annoyed, but they're so good that they're endearing, and you want to follow them, and you're invested in their the screen time that they do have. And I love that, it is silly scenes, but with Olive having those scenes with Jim Broadbent's character added a
Mm.
little bit more fun to her role too. I
For
really
her and Jim
enjoyed that.
Broadbent, I almost felt like was just explicitly a reference to Gentlemen Prefer Blondes,
Oh
with
yeah.
Marilyn Monroe and the rich guy there, where they kept trying to like get pictures of her to blackmail or whatever. There was like a lot
Mm.
of like scenes that just brought them to mind multiple times. So I wonder if Woody Allen was referencing that relationship. Could not have been though. And then I also thought a few times, I just with the voice too, the what's her face from Little Shop. She
Oh, Ellen Green. Yeah.
yeah.
That's another good one. A
Mhm.
very kind of, babyish, annoying voice, but just crushes it
It
in the
has like
movie.
yeah, like a mean controlling boyfriend,
Hmm.
who's just a dentist and not a monster.
Yeah, I had Olive as my scene stealer. I thought she was, quite
Yeah.
funny. And I don't know if you have that. I've been stepping all over like my fun facts and everything, but like she's the supposedly, this is bad research. Supposedly she was the only one that was allowed to ad lib her lines in the movie freely.
Okay, so
And
she had some of my biggest laugh out loud things because her funny lines are not they're not Woody Allen like being clever. Like her funny lines are just like
like
you're
her
an
saying
R
the R
word.
word.
That shit made me laugh really hard.
And it doesn't, I don't think that was a word in the 20s
No, I don't know. Yeah,
that
maybe.
was
No,
used.
it's a pretty old word, but it may not be that old. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, she was allowed to ad lib. And one thing that I noticed too, and it said in the research on IMDb and stuff, that she was also allowed to talk over people. Like they
Oh,
would be doing their rehearsed lines and she would just cut in. And you see that a lot in the beginning, those beginning scenes. And she's really the only part, like you kind of said, like John Cusack kind of fades to the back, and in that beginning of the movie, like she's the best part of the first
yeah,
part,
she's like the
half of
main
this movie.
character in the first half
Yeah.
of the movie. It feels like everything's about her or it's her on screen. I mean, she's getting
Hmm.
way more time than anybody else. And I mean, it was the only laugh out loud moment I have that we're kind of dancing around referencing. But like the only time I laughed out loud watching it alone was when she's practicing her lines with Cheech, and she's like, "You're allowed to ad lib, stupid," and he's like, "You're something something," and she's like, "You're a degenerate zombie." And he says, "Shut up! You're lucky you're like Valenti's girl." And she's like, "You're lucky you're just an idiot," or something like that. And I just started cracking up. She was just like roasting him hardcore, really fast. And I was like, Woody Allen doesn't feel like he wrote those lines, so it might
No.
have been her.
Yeah, he was like, she's the only funny one out of you people, so she's the only one that's allowed to riff.
I will say
So
I've heard from many actors too that actors like working with Woody Allen. One interesting thing about him, a director, and why he has more movies than any other director, who's like
outside of
considered
like
very
Clint
good,
Eastwood,
huh?
I said outside of like Clint Eastwood, who does like 3 a year, and he's 94.
Oh yeah, well, directs 3 a year. I mean, now
He
I guess.
had in the last like 20 years, he was putting out like 2 a year at least.
Yeah, and I do think that there are like a lot of early and like golden and silver age Hollywood actors who really churned movies out. But I don't think anybody's. I think there's very few people who have done as many films with specific artistic control and
Hmm.
intent as Woody Allen has. And his thing was, he's like, I write a script every year, I shoot a movie every year, I don't read the reviews, I write my next script, I shoot my next movie, and that's kind of what he's always said he's done. And he also doesn't seem to stress himself out as a director much. He talks to the cinematographers and lets them do their work. And I've heard a lot of actors be like, I don't know. It's like I'd go up and like, Woody, what do you want me to do here? He's like, I don't do. You're an actor. Do what you want to do. You know what to do. Just do your stuff. Like he just constantly doesn't give direction, and he's like, "That sounds good. Yeah, go for it." You know.
So he's just a writer.
Yeah, he's just a writer who does like who's there for like some like large level like direction. But then he lets cinematographers be cinematographers and actors be actors, and he's in the background working on his next script. He's already forgotten about the one he's filming. It's kind of like the impression you get, which is why he could churn out one a year, sometimes two a year for 50 years straight.
But then he thinks he's Bergman or Fellini in some of his stuff. Yeah, whatever.
Whatever. He's not that good, but
no, he's not. He's not that good. I don't even love Fellini stuff.
Yeah, I don't like Fellini that much.
Yeah.
Bergman.
Let's talk about some of the quotes that we haven't already jumped on. What are some of the ones that you've gotten written down or have written down? Oh, God.
Yeah, it's pretty typical like Woody Allen doing Marx Brothers banter.
Yeah, Marx Brothers would have been a way better thing like than to reference earlier in the movie too.
Yeah, I haven't had a drink since New Year's Eve. You mean Chinese New Year's? Of course. You know, stuff like that. It's pretty good.
That is very Marxy. Karl Marx.
Oh yeah. That's like the last one I wrote down. Quantity affects quality. Says who? Karl Marx. That's economics. Sex is economics.
I had that one as well.
Yeah. You go ahead.
Yeah, so Helen, one of the things that she said, you stand on the brink of greatness. The world will open up to you like an oyster. No, not like an oyster. The world will open up to you like a magnificent vagina.
Magnificent vagina.
She delivered that line very well, so she deserves an Oscar nomination just for that.
Yeah, totally. Going back to Olive, and maybe I don't know, Woody Allen could have written this, but it might be an ad lib. You'd eat anything that didn't eat you first, you big fat pot of helium.
She's from another time, man. I swear. Yeah, she's great.
Yeah.
She needed more work.
She was in so many things, but I was trying to find like what's her big role, and I don't feel like she's been given the chance to like shine. She's always just there supporting.
Yeah, she got in the Chucky series too.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, she was in all those Bride of Chucky, still doing all that stuff. She was well loved in the few roles in the '90s that I remember her being in.
Yeah,
she played a blind girl in a very bad movie with Jude Law. Where I don't know if she knew if she was blind or if she was mentally developmentally disabled. I don't know. It was weird.
I recognize her from a million things. There are like some other actresses that like kind of look / sound like her that maybe like stole roles from her. Like,
then there's her sister.
Like
she has
Lauren Adams.
Renee Zellweger can fall into that too.
Yeah.
Her sister also acted.
Okay.
And I think was in some of the movies that we've done. Meg Tilly. We've talked about Meg Tilly before.
Oh, yeah, that's familiar.
She was in The Big Chill. She was really much bigger in the 80s than Jennifer Tilly was. Yeah. But also kind of same voice style, less breathy, I think, than Jennifer Tilly, but still kind of similar. So.
I have one more, and then I'll let you have the one that you mentioned earlier. But
okay.
Well, it's not that good of a line, but it was towards the end of that like kind of nice sequence at the end where he's like trying to figure out the difference between himself as an artist and a man. And she says, "I could love an artist. I could love a man if he wasn't a real artist. I couldn't love an artist if he wasn't a real man."
Oh, I like that. No, I really like that line.
Yeah.
And Ellen gets that line. I have two more lines that we haven't already talked about. The one is from Cheech when I believe he's fighting with David about how the Olive's performance in the show, and he says it stinks on fucking hot ice.
Yeah.
I just really like that.
Actually, that's one of the things in my what the fuck moments because I don't know what that means.
I know, but I love the line.
Yeah. It stinks on fucking hot ice.
But the line that we've danced around is Rita, who was in the other window, saying, "For me, love is very deep. Sex only has to go a few inches."
Yeah,
really,
pretty good.
That's a good line. Good job, Woody Allen.
Good job. Yeah.
Stinks on fucking hot ice.
Yeah.
All right. Biggest laugh, cry, scare, or thrill. We've kind of already jumped around this. I don't think there are any cries, scares, or thrills in this movie.
I mean, I guess like when he does shoot her, gets as close as you're gonna get. You know,
yeah.
He even says like, what does he say? He says at the end, he's like, "You're a really bad actor." Bam.
Yeah. Kind of cold line. The only thing I I don't know how I feel about it, but like the Warner getting fat subplot, I really enjoyed.
Yeah, and we haven't talked enough about how Jim Broadbent's such a treasure. I love him so
Mhm.
much. Every time he shows up, he's really good. There's a million little things I always think of. I mean, I first saw him in Moulin Rouge when I was younger and loved
Mhm.
him there. But then the one role that I always think about every time I see him is how amazing he was in Art School Confidential. Um,
Man, that is a movie I have not thought about for 20 years.
it's an imperfect movie, but I think I could watch it once a year. I really love Art School Confidential. It's so funny. John Malkovich. It's got some bad actors in there, but Jim Broadbent's just like a creepy, hilarious genius in that movie. Yeah.
I think I always think of him needing to have that mustache and look like he does in Moulin Rouge. I think he
Yeah.
has that again in a movie called Topsy Turvy. Do you remember that movie?
I've never seen that one, but I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's looks. I'm trying to think who did it. Somebody very, but I think it's based on Gilbert and Sullivan.
Yeah.
Um, Mike Lee did it, so
Okay, yeah, yeah.
he wrote and
Yeah, he
directed it.
certainly was in a lot of theater stuff because did British stuff and did a lot of like I think some of my trivia is about the screenwriter for this that worked with Woody Allen. He did a lot of that guy's stuff because this was his first film, and then he did like Nicholas Nickleby kind of stuff and Emma.
Oh
But
yeah.
he shows up in Game of Thrones towards the end when it sucks, and he has one monologue, and then maybe my favorite monologue in all of Game of Thrones, where Samwell Tarly's like he's like in the maesters, like the little like jerk off librarian like
Mhm.
castle, and he's like, the world's gonna end, and he's like, listen, kid, the world's always ending. We write it down. That's what we do. I don't give a fuck. Go back to work. It's really awesome.
I remember that scene. Yeah. It's
Mhm.
not the worst thing that happens in that season. It's definitely probably one of the better things. Anything
Yeah,
that Samwell Tarly does, though, is pretty great
it's pretty awesome. Yeah.
in my man. Somebody in the chat referenced the biggest laugh is eating the chicken wing before they start having sex. Very, yeah. Jim
She just
Broadbent
rolls
again.
with it.
The two funniest people in the movie probably getting to act with one another and um, being.
Just circle back a little bit because of that scene. When we talk about that archetype of a character and how they could be very annoying and horrible, the thing is you have to make them like annoying, but then show that they're very like sincere and innocent. And like the fact that like he pulls that chicken wing out and she goes, "Oh, a little bit of poultry, yeah, let's fucking go." Like she's not like, "Ew, you're gross. I would never," or anything. Like I don't know. There's little moments like that where that show like a sincerity that you get in like Little Shop of Horrors too, from What's Her Face. That show like, oh, this person might be like overly stupid or like kind of bimbo coded or anything like that. But they actually are like very kind and generous and non-judgmental people, and then that makes that character okay and likable and not miserable to watch.
I wonder if that was an improv or an ad-libbed bit there with the a little bit of poultry.
Yeah, because it's almost underwritten for a Woody Allen thing. Like Woody
Yeah.
Allen would add 4 more words to that, you know?
Yeah, he probably was. Yeah, I was gonna try and make some Bergman reference again, but couldn't figure it out. Anything else that really stuck out to you as a laugh out loud moment?
Nope.
All right, okay, let's go to your what the fuck ridiculous moment.
Yeah, yeah. I had the chicken there, and then the other thing we talked about. What does this line mean? When she tells Tracy Ullman, "How long has it been since you've had a real hemorrhage?" And that hurts Tracy Ullman and makes her cry. Is that like it's like a period joke? Is that like a menopause joke? What does that mean? How long has it been since you've had a
Oh,
real
I never even.
hemorrhage?
Now that you mentioned like the menopause thing, that I mean Tracy Ullman's not that old. I
Yeah,
believe
Diane
she's
Reese
supposed to
seemed
be
older
like
than her in the movie. I don't
yeah.
know if anybody in chat has an idea what that what that line means, but she says they're in a fight. It says, "How long has it been since you've had a real hemorrhage?" And then Tracy Ullman starts to cry, and they like cut. They cut because it's like too intense now. And I don't know what that's supposed to mean.
No, I don't know either.
Yeah, so
I
that
wish
was what the fuck moment. Yeah.
I kind of felt like speaking. It's got to be a menopause thing. A man said in the chat. So, uh,
It's gotta be. It's gotta be. Spencer,
oh
how long
man,
has it been since you've had a real hemorrhage?
what's your glitch, Spencer? What's
What's
your
fucking
glitch?
hurts, Spence?
What's your fucking hemorrhage?
Yeah, I don't know.
Um, been a minute. Um, thanks for using the "What's your glitch" emoji that you get for being a subscriber. um, yeah, I don't know. That's a good
Yeah.
one. Also, that kind of a what the fuck thing is like the underutilization of Tracy Ullman in this movie.
Yeah, because she's pretty great.
Yeah, I mean, great comedian, and I haven't mentioned. I mean, other than the beginning where I was talking about who's in this movie, I haven't really mentioned anything. I don't think the role is bad role by any means, and she plays it very well.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Because Purcell, like Jim Broadbent's not important either, but he gets a lot more to do than she does. And then Tracy Ullman's bits, unfortunately, aren't that good with the dog. You know what you do with her, like what would be funny with her is when two more important characters are arguing about something, you do the thing where she throws in lines like she's part of the argument, but nobody's paying attention to her, and she's
Oh,
like, I think
yeah.
that's a good idea. Like, well, I don't know about that, or she like makes ridiculous, like absurd, but Cheech and David and Diane Wiest and Olive, they're not paying attention to her at all, but she's always there thinking that she's an equal, but she's never an equal. That makes her kind of
Yeah.
funny. Gives her more to do.
Yeah, I think her best scene is with Jim Broadbent when they're in the hallway behind the theater, and she like accuses him of eating her dog's treats, and like she reaches into his pockets. I love that scene. I think that's very
Sure,
funny.
eat out of my trousers.
Very quick scene there, but yeah, I do wish she would have gotten a little bit more to do.
Yeah.
So, best music moment.
It's all. I'd say very quickly that Woody Allen does music a very specific way. He loves jazz. He was a jazz clarinetist. All of his movies start the same way this one starts, with white credits over a black screen with jazz music playing. So I like hearing like "You've Got to See Mama Every Night" and that certain feeling's really good. And then obviously like "Let's Misbehave" is kind of classic. However, I miss other Woody Allen movies. They're trying to be more period with like the ragtime and like the fucking club hits of the day, kind of like where I miss other Woody Allen movies, putting a lot of really good piano jazz and clarinet jazz into his stuff.
Yeah.
So this isn't as good as his other stuff, but obviously the music's like one whole thing.
Yeah, he is. I mean, he needle drops in a way that you actually have to put on like his needle drops are those really heavy needles that you have to get the dog is listening through the gramophone. That's what I'm trying to think of.
Yeah, there you go.
I particularly like Toot Toot Tootsie Goodbye by Al Jolson. Yeah, Alyssa had mentioned this. Let's Misbehave is in every 20s movie. I think we heard it in something recently, maybe Cobb we talked about, and had that as well.
I mean, that's a good point. That's kind of why I put it at the end. I kind of rolled my eyes when I said it, where like I think for somebody like Woody Allen, who probably off the top of his head knows a lot of 20s music, Let's Misbehave is kind of a cop out. It's like every every counterculture girl's got to have bad reputation. Every counterculture teenage boy's got to have a hey ho, let's go. Like Let's Misbehave is like Misbehave is the 20s Ramones,
Cole Porter is the 20s Ramones. I like
he
that.
is, absolutely.
Oh man. Okay. I've got an F Marry Kill for you.
No.
Let's put up the F Marry Kill emojis in chat for me, please. Thank you. Ellen, Helen, or Olive?
Fuck. I don't want to do Olive dirty.
You don't have to. You can kill Helen.
Yeah, I feel like Helen's probably. I feel like Helen's the best lay.
Helen or Ellen?
Helen.
Okay.
Ellen's sweet. Olive is coded as likes male attention, but is like trading on that for social graces. Sex is a means to an end, not an end to itself. I think Helen is very sensual and is probably the best lay. But I don't want to marry Olive, so fuck it. I'll just kill Olive. I mean, she's already got. Yeah.
This is exactly what he does. I think.
Yeah. I'd marry Ellen. I'd fuck Helen, and I'd kill Olive.
Remember, love is very deep.
Mm-hmm. I like Olive as a person, but I wouldn't want to be in a relationship with her. It'd be way too much work every day.
It is the. Somebody says, I don't know if I could take her voice. Olive would let you eat in bed.
Yeah,
if that's
true. I like how Olive doesn't seem to be that judgmental.
She just wants to be an actress. She's acted in a few things before. I think that's part of why
I'm like, oh, sex isn't that important to you, which can be fine for a relationship, but not for sex. Like if that's all, if it's just the fuck, because like, yeah, sex just seems to be for her, like, it seems to be without a filter. She's just kind of like, needs an attention partner, someone to have fun with or whatever.
So do you think that she has any feelings for Jim
Purcell?
Broadbent's character? Yeah.
I don't know. Was there a line in there that made you think that there were real feelings? Honestly, I don't know why they were hooking up. I don't know that there was ever justified.
I think she admired him as an like a real actor.
Oh yeah, that's kind of sweet. Yeah.
And felt like because I think that's where her pickup lines start, is like admiring his work and being like, "Oh, you did really well today in that scene." And
She comes on to him pretty hard. Like, it's not
Yeah.
just like, will you teach me to act? She's like, I see you looking at me. Do you like me? Like, she's like pretty forward about it.
And then he pulls out that chicken wing.
Yeah, I don't know how to read what she wants out of that. Like whether she's just horny and wants to fuck him, or if that's what she knows to do as a person. I don't know.
She does not want to have sex with Valenti, though.
No, that's true.
Best
She's
performance.
one foot out the door from the beginning with Valenti.
Yeah.
Well, who you gonna? Who's your fuck, marry, kill?
Ooh, no.
Doesn't feel so good, does it, Cody?
David. No.
David, and David.
David, and David. He's my favorite character, and I want to do everything to him. No, I think I don't want to just cop out and say no. I gotta kill Helen. Okay. I think I'm killing her. I think I'm fucking Olive, and I think I'm marrying Ellen.
Ellen seems all right. Like, I mean, the worst thing about her isn't that she cheats, is that she goes back to John Cusack too fast. She doesn't really cheat, honestly. I mean, she kind of like, yeah. What'd you say?
I said she goes back to Pittsburgh, and I was like, that's the worst thing about her. I was like, yeah,
right.
Yeah, so that's my answer. I'm killing Helen. She's a little much for me. She's
cool.
Old hat, man.
Old hat. She's gone.
Wait, right.
No. She's still a star. She'll never play a frump or a virgin.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about that line. I never play frumps or virgins, which was my original.
Minestra, Lady Macbeth.
Somebody says Pittsburgh is fine. They're wrong. Okay, let's best performance. Who do you think? I think we agree on who this is, but who do you think gave the best performance?
I think Olive gave the best performance. I mean, I think Jennifer Tilly did. Cheech might be my favorite character, and Chaz Palminteri surprised me with how good he is, but I don't think his performance is next level. I just think he's pretty good.
Yeah. I said Chaz Palminteri. Obviously, we like the same too. He is playing every Chaz Palminteri role that I've ever seen. I think that bar room scene really got me, and I was like, that was good. Like, that one sold it for me. So that's the only, that's the only difference.
I see that as an answer. It's crazy that Diane Weiss, again, there must be like a legacy award. It's crazy that Diane Weiss got the supporting actor for this. She does a great job, but she's playing a cartoon the whole time. And she's not playing, like we talked about these archetypes. I don't think she's playing the best version of the cartoon.
I think this is an early, and I read a little bit about this, and I did a little bit more digging on this, but I think this is one of the beginning of the Weinstein push for actors and actresses. Because Weinstein, Miramax put this movie out. Harvey Weinstein put Diane Weiss in the forefront. That all their campaigning, they were the only one. They only sent her over for her consideration to be best supporting actress. And Jennifer Tilly was like, hell no, you guys aren't even going to submit me over. She submitted herself, badass. And like did her own campaign, and she ended up getting a nomination with it, which usually kills both.
Because they split the vote, right?
Because they'll split the vote. So good for Jennifer Tilly for stepping up. She's looking for
that Marissa Tomei Oscar in this role.
Yeah. I swear there's another Jennifer Tilly role that somewhere in like the 90s that she could have been or was nominated for an Oscar. I'll have to look it up later, but I feel like there's another like Jennifer Tilly role out there that was well recognized and well loved.
Okay,
but I don't know. I did find that fascinating though. Good for Jennifer Tilly for that.
Yeah, good for her.
Recast. I know this is your least favorite part of this.
I didn't more than I expected to.
Now let's hear it.
For 94, the only thing I had for David is Daniel Stern. Like hunched over and nervous.
Yeah.
Not perfect.
Yeah. No, I like it because Daniel Stern used to do more of this kind of stuff. Like he
Yeah,
was
he's
in the
done
more
drama,
serious.
which is funny because it's this year that he's doing like Rookie of the Year, right?
Yeah, he did Rookie of the Year, and so we only see Daniel Stern as Rookie of the Year. We only see Daniel Stern. Well, like our generation anyway, only sees him as these silly roles: Home Alone, Home Alone 2, Bushwhacked that comes out later, and everything like
I
that.
mean, I'm trying to think. I know he's done drama roles and can do them. The only thing that's coming to mind though is just him doing the narration for Wonder Years. But I mean, that is certainly not like a comedic thing he's doing. It's just voiceover.
Breaking Away.
Oh yeah.
City Slickers is actually a good version of comedy, of Daniel Stern comedy, I think, mixed with this a little bit. Like,
Okay. Yeah.
because this is a comedy.
Yeah. Totally.
So,
Yeah.
but
So I mean, he's playing a little bit different role. He's not over the top, but I think he could do the nebbish thing a lot. So yeah, that's the only thing that came to mind when I was like scrolling through actors from then. Olive, I had two very different but very similar ideas. The Battle of the Rosies. Rosie O'Donnell or Rosie Perez?
Rosie Perez. Once you said Rosie, I immediately went to Rosie Perez. But no, Rosie O'Donnell's actually a really good one. I can see Rosie O'Donnell in
I can see
maybe.
them both kind of killing it. It's slightly different. They're coming out from different places, but they both could do the New York style like accent, annoying, brassy, loud, broad kind of thing in their own ways. And I think they'd both be pretty good. Rosie Perez is pretty young here, but that's fine. So I mean, Rosie O'Donnell can still play that age. When I do this stuff, it's hard to think of like trying to match ages. Sometimes I just kind of go with it if it's close enough.
Yeah, League of Their Own Rosie is what I was thinking too. In relation to that, could Madonna do that role?
Oh yeah, I mean, no, not very good. I mean,
if she played it like all the way May, maybe.
Yeah, I don't hate Madonna as an actor. I've seen her be a good actor. I've seen her be a bad actor a lot too.
Yeah, that's the bad part.
It's hard to get excited about her as an actor. But she might be able to pull it off. She definitely is good at things. Yeah.
Thanks.
For Cheech, I put Joe Pesci.
Okay, I like that.
For Purcell, not good ones. If he went younger, James Spader. And then because he could play older, Anthony Hopkins.
Mm-hmm.
And then for Helen Sinclair, Meryl Streep.
Ooh, yeah, Meryl Streep would have been a good one. Good pull. Did you do 2024? The only one I did for 94 was the Woody Allen recast himself. So 2024, did you do anything?
I did. Real quick to 94. I had thought something while we were talking, and so I was like, that's why I was looking at my phone because I was trying to remember that actor's name. Ileana Douglas. I would love to have seen have a better career, and you'd recognize her. She's been in a lot of things, and she was in Goodfellas. I was looking up. She's like a small role in Goodfellas.
Oh, yeah, I remember her.
She's a great actress. She was in a ton of stuff, and I feel like she should have gotten some better roles.
Oh yeah, no, she would have been good. I remember her. What do I remember her from?
If you look at it, she's got a long filmography. It just occurred to me, so I just looked up Goodfellas.
I do remember her in the one you were talking about. Oh, she was in Quiz Show too, randomly.
Oh yeah,
in a very small background role. So, but yeah, she does have a huge filmography. Goodfellas, cool, nice.
Yeah, 2024. Olive, I put Anna Faris.
Yes, I was struggling so hard with Olive for 2024.
We don't do these archetypes anymore, so it's hard to think of an actress who would be like a 20s gangster like Maul. It would be a little more like Judd Apatow to put Anna Faris in a movie like that. But that could kind of make this movie a little funnier, actually. If like Judd Apatow remade it, it could work better.
I had Christina Hendricks was the person I put for Olive.
Oh yeah, that's good.
And it's really just based on her voice.
Sure,
she kind of
her voice, Cody.
Trust me, it's based on the voice.
I'm gonna kill that role. Cheech, these are both a little old, but I thought of J.K. Simmons and Samuel L. Jackson. If they both were a little younger, especially, but if they were hardened criminals, especially at the end of their career, playing Cheech as hitmen, I think they could kill a lot of those lines.
Yeah.
Sinclair had Frances McDormand. Purcell, yeah, that would be really good. Purcell, I had John Lithgow or Mark Rylance. I think both would be great.
John Lithgow would be amazing.
Yeah.
I like Mark Rylance, but John Lithgow would kill that role.
Right. And I was for David, I think the best answer is Adam Driver. I wanted to think of a female, and I couldn't think of a great one, but I thought about like Saoirse Ronan. I don't know if she could really play like insecure kind of. But it'd be cool to see a female play the playwright who's kind of getting bullied around and is nervous all the time.
She can play anything. She's
Yeah, totally. My girl Serge, she never does it wrong.
Serge. I mentioned her last week. Somebody asked me who my favorite actress was, and I believe I said Saoirse. So
nice. I didn't know that.
Right now, she's pretty great.
I love her.
I said I picked Jason Schwartzman as David. For Helen Sinclair, I think there's a lot of. I mean, I think there's a great role for a lot of actresses, but like Annette Bening, or Julianne Moore, maybe she's in everything. I feel like, but Annette Bening, I feel like could do that exact same thing, maybe even better. I don't know. I feel like
Julianne Moore has played that role in something.
Yeah. She's kind of that role in Boogie Nights. She's kind of that role in Big Lebowski. She's got
Yeah, totally.
Bobby Cannavale. Do you know who he is? Yeah, as Cheech. That was the other one.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. And then of course I said Christina Hendricks. So any fun facts that you learned? I think we went over a couple of these.
We talked about the musical. It's not that fascinating, but the co-writer, Douglas, I can't read my own handwriting. McCareth? Not it. McGrath, maybe. He was an SNL writer, but he also he was nominated for a screenplay for this movie and went on to do some other movies. But he also had a small role in Quiz Show as the guy in the apartment who like mailed the answers to himself.
Oh yeah,
that guy co-wrote this movie.
Okay, yeah, he has like one line. I thought you guys were coming, or whatever it was. Like I was waiting on you guys to get back to me. I think that's the only thing he said in Quiz Show, but I remember.
Yeah, because he's an artist in the like in a studio apartment. He does like art there, and he's kind of like a shut-in. But to find that out, I saw just through Wikipedia like rabbit holes that he was in Quiz Show, and I was like, well, who was James Snodgrass? I don't remember who that is in the movie. So I had to look up that name, and I just found like an artist website that was like, this guy was kind of famous for being in the Quiz Show, but then he just like devolved into his art and just did that for the rest of his life. But
nice.
So yeah, 94 connections there, 52 / connections.
That's
that's all I had.
Cool. Yeah, I think I went over all of my ones. I said that the pregnancy thing was an inside joke reference to Hannah and the Sisters, the I'm an artist, I'm not an artist thing. That's pretty much all I've got for that. But we come to my favorite part. Like a Fine Wine and Dish, if you could pair this with another movie for a double feature, what would you choose? And if you have a song or a book that you'd like to say instead.
Oh, I forgot about that. There's probably, if I had thought about it, I probably could think of some good stuff. Have you ever heard of Let's Misbehavin' by Cole Porter?
I have.
Yeah, I think it'd go really well with this movie. So for Woody Allen movies, this was just something I read in the Wikipedia article in like a review. Like somebody mentioned Crimes and Misdemeanors, which is a great Woody Allen movie. That being about a murder that somebody actually justifies. They kind of related this being the silly side of that serious concept. And Woody Allen will do that. A lot of writers will do that when they're like, cool, I like worked really hard on one idea. Now, like let me just milk that idea a little bit more. And let me just make it a comedy now and just get another movie out of it. But that seems like Crimes and Misdemeanors did this. And then Purple Rose of Cairo, which is one of Woody Allen's best and sweetest films, where Jeff Bridges? Yeah. Comes off the screen, and like a woman who goes and sees all his movies as a like an adventure Indiana Jones type character falls in love with him, and then he comes off the screen. Daniels, yeah. Then he comes out of the screen as that character and falls in love with the woman who's watching all his movies. And that feels like the magic of show business in movies more than plays, but like the magic of theater in a very sweet way compared to this as being like a cynical, like making fun of the entire industry way. And then the last thing I had, Get Shorty is a great film that's about a gangster who's kind of like losing his love for his gangster life and being like a strong man. And is like, man, I could really make it in Hollywood. I have great ideas. And then like finding his way as a screenwriter. And so Cheech's story kind of like pairs with that pretty well.
Damn it.
Is that what you had?
Yeah, that was actually the first one. I watched it again last week just to give like refresher kind of thing.
Is it still really good?
Yeah, it's still good. It's like mid-tier, like not as good as Jackie Brown, which is another one that I would relate to it, but very funny.
Yeah, it's silly black comedy, which I like a lot.
Gene Hackman's great. I think that
Travolta's was awesome.
I think Travolta's really good in it, and probably gets more credit for Pulp Fiction than he does for this role, and I think he's cooler in this role in Get Shorty, and I think he's better in it than in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, I'd agree.
So that was on my list. Just kind of sticking with the Hollywood theme is like Bowfinger. Did you ever
Oh
watch
yeah, that's
Bowfinger?
pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, Steve Martin making a movie, bare bones movie, but trying to get like a famous actor in it, and so he gets his like twin brother to play in most of it,
Yeah.
while also having a very funny movie. And then the other one I had listed Boogie Nights early, but I don't really love that. I just could
Yeah.
not think. I was trying to think of movies where somebody, like we talked about that whole plot line with the young playwright and um the older actress. I know that exists somewhere
If I had
besides
spent
this
some
movie.
time Googling it, we could come up with a list of 15 movies that are about the three different parts of this.
Yeah.
And then one being like young artist gets a shot, but like the industry eats it up and destroys his art and then he destroys his soul along the way. Again, Barton Fink, I didn't list this time because I mentioned it earlier, is the
Mhm.
Coen Brothers version of that. It's pretty great.
But and this movie has, parts of Singing in the Rain we had mentioned, To Be or Not to Be we had mentioned, Sunset Boulevard, of All About Eve is a really, really good one.
Yeah.
Very fantastic
Tons
movie,
of
All About
MGM musicals are about musicals being put
Mhm.
on and plays being put on. Yeah.
So, rewatchability rating, I mean, out of especially you have a lot more into it, but like comparing this into like the Woody Allen's ones too, what would you give it on a scale of 1 to 5 rewatchability wise?
I gave it 2 out of 5.
Okay.
Which in my mind means I don't need to see it ever again. I might put it on if it's in front of me in 5 years.
Or if you're doing another Woody rewatch.
Mhm. One in my mind is like I would be kind of dumb because I wouldn't enjoy watching again. And 0 is I would refuse. So 2 is like there's some time in my life where maybe it's on or I choose like didn't I watch that for Cody's podcast 20 years ago? What's it about again? Oh yeah, that's kind of cool. That's a 2 for me. So that's what I give
Yeah.
it.
Somebody in the chat said "Kiss Me, Kate," because
Oh
it's
yeah,
about a
so
play within a
good.
play. Yeah,
It's, not directed by Bob Fosse, but he did a lot of choreography, and he's in that movie. It's really great. I love Kiss Me, Kate.
yeah. I have never seen "Kiss Me, Kate." I'm a
Yeah,
bad
check it out, man.
musical watcher. Um,
10
yeah,
things I hate about it.
I gave this a 3 rewatchability rating. I don't know. I think it's one of the more fun Woody Allen movies, and if I saw it on TV, I definitely wouldn't turn it off. I might watch it to see when the next good line comes out, or an Olive moment, or a Cheech moment. I think that's really what boosts the rewatchability for me.
Mhm.
Overall,
It's one of the latest pure comedies because Woody Allen wasn't doing pure comedies for a long time, and I
mhm,
don't think he does much after this either. Like he's always got funny lines in his movies, but like nothing's like meant to be like a snappy comedy anymore. So if you want one of those that's after the 70s, this is one of your only options.
yeah. This feels very. I mean, what was it? The late 30s, whenever they were doing like this snappy, the back and forth, I don't know, Gilmore Girls dialogue.
Yeah,
Uh,
screwball comedy stuff. Yeah.
yeah, it happened one night kind of
Mhm.
stuff. Yeah.
Go Friday. Yeah.
Mhm. All right. On a scale of 1 to 5, overall star rating, what do you give it?
I give it a 2.5. I think I think a lesser Woody Allen film's better than most films that are being made, but this one's also very dated at this point. So I mean, that kind of all like brings it right to the middle of the pack for me.
Okay. Wow. You went a little bit lower than I thought. I actually really enjoyed this movie. I gave it a 4 out of 5.
Oh wow, cool, yeah.
And then that might come down, but like, no, I really enjoyed it as I was watching it, and was kind of surprised because I expected again like 90s Woody Allen. I've never really heard too many great things about him, and honestly, whenever I was watching this and then doing some research, I was surprised that it had gotten as many Academy Award nominations as it did. I remember knowing that Diane Wiest was nominated for this movie. I didn't remember that she had won for it or anything.
Mhm.
So um, anyway, um, okay, that's it for everything. Any of the questions? If we missed anything, let us know in chat. But Ryan, I haven't talked to you in a few weeks, month, maybe. I don't know. What is something that you've watched that you would recommend to people?
Oh, in my personal life, I watch people play competitive Risk on YouTube.
Okay.
It's pretty bad. The only person who does it's like a toxic Canadian like men's rights activist. But I mean, the games are good. The meta of the games are good, but he sucks. So I don't recommend it to anybody. At the bar I work out, I will sometimes hang out there after hours till like 3 or 4 in the morning, and we have been watching. We put movies on. We watched Rookie of the Year and Paddington, and we watched some Star Wars prequels. That's all I remember, really.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Those aren't bad movies.
I haven't seen a movie other than this one in quite a while. I missed the last few. The last 2 movies you did, I had never seen them and didn't know existed, and I really wanted to watch them, but I just didn't find the time.
Don't watch Being Human. Avoid it.
Really? I read it, and I was like, I've read the synopsis. I was like, if this was good, I would have heard of it. So it must be really bad, right?
It was the most disappointing movie I think, definitely that I've seen this year.
Okay, because it's like the premise seems cool and the acting, Robin Williams, right? But no, okay, cool.
It is not great. There are some there's like one charming moment in it, and it's because of John Turturro, who's great in the movie for a very brief time. But yeah, I would not recommend it.
Okay, and if you had like a one-line review of what the slashers thought of Cobb, what was that like?
Oh
I didn't know that
man,
movie existed.
yeah, it kind of Tommy Lee Jones went for it. Let's just say that.
Does he have an
Um,
accent?
I mean, he's just playing like a belligerent Tommy Lee Jones. He's
Nice.
basically playing the Two-Face that plays baseball.
Well, now you're making it sound pretty awesome.
Cobb was chaos. That's it. Yeah, I don't know if Cobb was like supposed to be a comedy, and then I think that the writer who is writing down Ty Cobb's story was miscast. Like it's Robert Wool, and I don't think Robert Wool was really good in that. John Cusack probably would have been a better person for that role than Robert Wool was. It was messy. That was a very messy movie.
Okay, yeah. I don't mean to rehash. I was just curious.
No. I honestly forgot that we had watched Cobb and Natural Born Killers. I think was it's been a chaotic month, and
Yeah.
so I was kind of happy to get to
Yeah,
this.
you know what? This does feel kind of calm and
Yeah, this is just normal, and
yeah.
even if it is a Woody Allen slapsticky thing, it was really good. Yeah, so like I've watched a couple movies. The Iron Claw, which came out last year, about the wrestlers, Zac Efron. I can't even think of the wrestlers now. But it's about that family of wrestlers that's like cursed. The Von Erichs, if you've ever heard of
Oh,
the
that's
Von
vaguely
Erichs.
familiar.
But it's A24 movie. It was actually pretty good. So 4 stars there on that one. Though you talked about Paddington, though. So the same director of Paddington did the Wonka movie, the new Wonka movie.
I was looking at that when I was brushing up on Paddington. So I was like, that makes me want to watch that Wonka movie that I had no interest in watching more.
I thought it was good.
Is good?
I thought it was good. I thought it was very charming, and it's like it's kind of a nice like wash your mouth out part from the Tim Burton one that I didn't love that much. You're never going to capture. You're never going to capture the same thing with Wonka as you did with what's his face. But like, I thought it was fun. It was pretty, and the music was good. And if you liked Paddington or Paddington 2, I think you'd like it. It's a good family movie, in my opinion.
Okay, cool. I like that.
Get Shorty, I already talked about, and then The Piano Teacher.
Oh yeah, I've never seen that.
Haneke movie, Michael Haneke.
Oh yeah. What's he do? The Shane?
He did Cachet. He did.
Cachet.
He did Funny Games.
Cachet
Amour. Yeah, Cachet is good. I think that's my favorite of his that he's seen. Amour is really good too. It's very sad. But yeah, so that's pretty much what I've been watching.
Nice.
Our next movie, though, is another movie that I have not seen. Maybe you've seen it. It's Ed Wood by Tim Burton.
I've never seen it.
About famous bad director Ed Wood. It's all in black and white. I am really eager to see this because it's supposedly one of Tim Burton's better movies, and I really look forward to watching that. It is not available on streaming anywhere. It will be on video on demand or however you want to acquire your videos. So do be on the lookout for that one. Other than that, Ryan, thank you. You're amazing. As always, I love talking about movies with you. I say that every time. Ryan, you're the Ryan Weiss to my Cootie Allen.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Well, we'll see you next week. It'll probably be on Monday or Tuesday of next week, just because of Memorial Day and everything and people traveling and stuff. So we'll let everybody know. If you're on the Discord, maybe I'll put out a note there talking about that. So we'll see you next week here on 52/19.